Many questions on your mind, searched all around, but you couldn't find. Here's a program that's made for you, so your faith can be renewed. Oh, we know easy, yes we know, but you gon' make 'em for sure. We'll become the saints in jeans and shirt. Catholic Faith Forum on TV.
Ever since the advent of the internet, a lot of things have become easier in life. Products, services, education, even religion has become more accessible by just clicking your fingers or tapping something on the keyboard. But just like every or some human inventions, there's always a hazard attached to the use of the internet. So today on the show, we will be discussing if the internet has done more harm than good to the society. This is your #1 Catholic TV program, Catholic Faith Forum. And to discuss this issue with me, I have two lovely guests. First off, I have Mr. Muyiwa Matuluko of TechPointNg. He is the editor-in-chief of TechPointNg and a writer who has been writing and speaking about technology and its effects on lifestyle, business, and the society for over 5 years. You're welcome, Mr. Muyiwa.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. And we have Mr. Darlington Amadi, aka the Cypher. He's a medical doctor, an actor, and a dancer. You're welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, I'm honored to be here.
It's a pleasure having you. And when we come back from this break, we will be talking more about this topic. Do not go anywhere.
Catholic Faith Forum on TV.
Welcome back to the show. And today we'll be discussing the internet, whether it has done more harm than good. So let's get straight into the matter. Mr. Muyiwa, I would like to ask you this question. What exactly made the internet what it is? How did it become a force to be reckoned with today?
The origin of the internet can be traced back to, I believe, 1979. We talk about ARPANET. And the idea was, in the US military, the idea was to find a way that computers could communicate with each other. Yeah, and that's how the internet was developed. And then, so the internet is actually the foundation of what we experience today, which is actually the web, the World Wide Web, which people always use interchangeably with the internet. But that one started in the 90s, early 90s, early 90s, and it exploded with the World Wide Web. Because before then, the internet was used mostly for research purposes and in the academics and military, and not to the common man. But with the World Wide Web, the ability to access web pages and interact with businesses and all of that, that's actually exploded the internet. So the origin of the internet is around that time. Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of the World Wide Web and the internet, is there a distinction, or are they one and the same?
There's a distinction, definitely.
Okay.
So I always use this analogy, although it's not necessarily the best analogy, but it helps. So, for example, you watch television,
yes,
right, and you access content. You watch like the CFFONTV.
Yeah,
that's like the World Wide Web.
Okay.
But the signals that are sending that television program to you is the internet. So the internet is the foundation of the World Wide Web. Wonderful. There are many other things that actually use the internet. So, for example, we are talking about these days. We talk about the Internet of Things, when devices that are not necessarily maybe your camera is connected to the internet, or your fridge. So maybe like if you run out of milk, the fridge can order more milk for you and all of that. So these devices are connected to the internet too, but they are not on the World Wide Web. But what we call the internet mostly these days is actually the World Wide Web.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay, so how does the internet work? Can you like break it down to us in a layman's terms?
Well, okay. So essentially, it's just two devices communicating with each other, sending. It's basically radio frequencies, radio signals, basically, and they use what is called a protocol, which is a defined set of rules that lay out how they should communicate with each other. Because The problem is you might have a Samsung phone, I may have a HP laptop, this other person might have his fridge and all of that, right? And they are not from the same makers or producers, manufacturers. So there has to be like a defined set of rules that helps them to communicate with each other, which is what the protocol. So anytime you type what's the website of those
DominicanMedia.com.
DominicanMedia.com, for example. What is happening is, for you are saying Dominican Media, right? Because it makes it more relatable to you.
Yes.
But what it's actually doing is using that protocol to send the signal to the computer where the web page of Dominican Media is stored, and telling him that, okay, send the web pages on this thing back to this person who is trying to access it, and send this series of codes. And then you that are accessing it now have like a browser that interprets that code in a visual manner that you now understand. That's I don't want to. I don't want to
go into that. We're not looking for too much
basically that's how it works.
All right. So how has it helped your business, Mr. Darlington? You being the cipher and all, and your forays into entertainment. How has it helped you? How has the internet been of use to you?
Okay, first of all, the question actually stating whether the internet has done more harm than good. In relation to this, I'll actually say it has helped me based on, first of all, publicity is one thing, and without the internet, you cannot put yourself out there. Yeah. You cannot, because I started by, Instagram, I won't lie, like I started just making videos, and normally before you know it, you get somebody will reach out to you through the same Instagram DM message. So it puts you out there. It actually put me out there, and it makes people can actually see what I can do. You get, I don't have to, have one big show or something. Someone can just check their phone and tap. Okay. You get, your profile is already just there. So I think basically it's done major good for me though, more good in terms of publicity, and all that.
All right, so Mr. Muyiwa, how has it helped you expanding your brand, your business?
Definitely, the internet has been very instrumental in my life. I started write. I've always loved to write. So when I was a child, I used to write poems and all of that. And then I discovered blogging, like 2011, 2012, and I started doing it for fun, right? And then somehow, somewhere, my interest for technology matched my interest for writing. And I started writing about technology. And then, I was discovered. The first job I did was, I used to write for a popular technological publication, and they would pay me on a particle basis, like lunch money on a particle basis, very small money. But I was just doing it for the fun of it at that moment. And then eventually, I saw that I was, people liked what I was doing, writing. Yeah. They engaged with it. And somehow the opportunity to create a career out of it came, and I did. And so everything I'm doing now,
is all thanks to the internet.
It's all thanks to the internet. Like, without the internet, I would not be where I am today.
Wonderful. So let's go over to an area that many people feel is the beginning and the end of the internet, which is social media. Yeah. A lot of people don't know all these things that you've explained to us. So people think that everything begins and starts with social media, begins and ends rather with social media. So what is your general overview? You being a technology person, what's your general overview of that area of the internet?
Yeah, so you are very right that for many people the internet is Facebook and Google. Like, there was a survey, I don't have the specifics now, a survey was run a few years back in Africa, and they asked many Africans, have you ever used the internet? And they said no. Then they asked them, have you ever used Facebook? They said yes. You have used the internet. So for many of them, or even sometimes when people go on Google to search for something, for them Google is the internet, as far as they're concerned. So I saw it on Google. They don't know that they saw it on a certain site. So it happens, like for example, we write about technology, TechPointNg, and sometimes we may review devices and products that people, like smartphones and all that. And people go and search about this thing, right? And they discover us. Now, for them, in their own mind, it's Google
that gave it to them.
So they just feel like, oh, we went to Google and we saw
it.
And they'll start contacting us and saying, oh, we want to repair this phone, send us your address. I'm like, no, sorry, we don't repair phones. We are not the producers of the phones. So yeah, there's a general illiteracy. When I say illiteracy, I don't mean, so people can read and write, but in terms of
don't know.
awareness of the internet, understanding how the internet works, there's a general, like there are many people that actually think, for example, that how Facebook makes money is that when they buy data and access Facebook, that MTN or whatever your network provider is, give them the money. They don't know that MTN, Facebook makes money from advertising to you. And it actually depends on what you put out there. So if you are always sharing that you like this certain brand of thing, then Facebook is going to tell advertisers you like it.
And then
so if more people are aware of that, would they be comfortable with that, for example? So there's this general sense of lack of awareness because of the comforts. That's the thing. We sacrifice the comforts for our privacy and awareness.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
The Cypher, what do you think about social media in general, your overview of it?
Well, first of all, social media in general, I would say it has actually helped most people to actually, other than putting themselves out there, in terms of entertainment, actually it has helped people to just, forget about, the struggle and things they're going with just by checking their phone. You see one funny video, you see something, and communication, actually, WhatsApp, social media, it makes, I know most people that actually don't like calling. They prefer, I have a friend, once you call him, they'll be like, guy, why did you call my phone? Just send me a message for WhatsApp, you understand? They prefer chatting and you get, texting and all that. So I think social media has actually helped people to communicate more with each other, days of BlackBerry, messaging app and all that. So it has helped communication to be easier, and it has helped more brands, like people to be able to push that. So people that had nothing, at least they could start on a small platform, just subscribe and start putting your stuff. From there, you get discovered, and I know a lot of people that started through social media. All them like CC, Josh Sufon, they started through social media, and now they are doing big shows. And if you ask them now, they'll say, thanks to, they'll just be specific. They'll be like, thanks to Instagram. They'll just specific Instagram, but social media. So,
wonderful. Yeah. So what is your favorite social media?
I just low-key said it now. It's Instagram actually. Then WhatsApp.
Then WhatsApp, okay. Yeah. But there's a case these days now for Twitter being the chief of all of them because of all the bans.
Savage and no.
So that's why I had to ask. I wanted to know if you're a Twitter person or
Instagram. I have a Twitter account, but I don't think I remember my password.
Wonderful. All right. So do you think, Mr. Muyiwa, the internet makes people lazy?
That's a very good question. So, like Darlington explained now, for example, you said how people are creating businesses with the internet, and just as people find good uses for the internet, they also find bad uses for it. The fact is, it's very easy to conclude and say, oh, the internet is bad and whatever. But the truth is that the internet amplifies whatever substance you act. Just the same way money amplifies. So if you are a lazy person generally, then of course you are going to use the internet for...
It will help you become lazy.
Yeah, you become more lazy. It will amplify whatever. Because the interesting thing about the internet, because of the anonymity and the fact that you are not like you are distant. So you are distant from the world. Like you are. There's this sense of importance it gives you. Everybody has an opinion, especially on Twitter. Everybody knows the right thing about this and that. Everybody is like feels special. You get? So it amplifies. So if you're that kind of person who has so much, you think so much too highly of yourself, or you're too lazy or whatever, the internet is definitely going to amplify that part of you. So, but I won't say to answer your question, I will not say the internet makes people lazy.
Wonderful.
It just amplifies whatever they are.
Yeah, that's a wonderful take on the question. But because we need to get your opinions from the streets, we're going to take a short break so that we can listen to what the people have to say about this topic. When we come back, we'll be discussing your opinions and more. Stick with us.
Catholic Faith Forum on TV.
That's one of the biggest challenges now that we have. But the only advice I would give to people using social media is, even whenever you want to go to these media sites, whatever you read, don't waste your time checking out other people's sources and start commenting.
Yeah, people spend like 3 hours.
Yes, on it. Yes. Okay. So the habit of going to social media to check people's sources and not learning it's something that should be worked on.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Check on platforms that will improve your lifestyle, education. You can learn a lot of things on
right.
social media.
Catholic Faith Forum on TV.
Welcome back to the show, and we've had some lovely takes from the streets, and shows that there are various opinions on this topic, like you have rightly put. Okay, so we're going straight back into the discussion, Mr. Muyiwa and Mr. Darlington. But let me start with you, Mr. Darlington. How has social media helped you build your brand?
Okay. Social media, Instagram to be specific, has helped me build my brand in the sense that, okay, I started using Instagram. Let's throw back 2011, 2012, yeah, thereabout. But I started doing all this posting and stuff about 2013, 14-ish. I started with normal, videos, all these skits, normal skits online then. I was now like, okay, I actually know how to dance. I dance actually, so I just started putting my, dance videos out there. And gradually, because actually, I schooled in Ukraine. So at the point when I started putting stuff, there was someone that saw my videos, a girl actually, she's Ukrainian, but she speaks English. So the connection was that when she saw my videos, she actually had a dance studio back in Ukraine. So she was like, okay, so you dance, could you come and teach, Afrobeat to my students and all that. So that was the first connection I actually had with that, you get. And that was through her just seeing my videos on Instagram. So we now had a mutual, business relationship. I'm Nigerian, she's Ukrainian, so they can't harass me because, it's like Ukraine is like the height of racism was too much. So based on she's white and black, so I have like leverage. So he made things easier, at least from the dance aspect, yeah. Then comedy, basically, I do adverts. Like then, I did adverts for people for their businesses. Just think about his kids. Then it was 15 seconds now, yeah. That was a struggle, like so. 15 seconds you get paid for just 15 something. So, but along the line, it's, for example, the last I did a GT advert. It was also through, the whole Instagram.
Many people don't know that advert. Maybe at the end of the show we'll talk about it.
Okay,
we'll just play people's.
But yeah, so it's Instagram has helped me basically. So, but it doesn't just start one day. I know people just think, okay, you just start one day and start posting your stuff. It actually, if you ask people, they'll tell you how they started, but you will not know because you just know them when things start working out well for them. You will not know when things were bad and were all. But yeah.
Wonderful. Mr. Muyiwa, how has social media especially helped you build your brand?
Definitely it's been very instrumental. I was sharing the story earlier about how I started to write, and of course all of these things will be shared all over social media. And because I was dealing with very topical issues, people would be interested and find out who wrote this, why it was, and all of that. And then they of course wanted to. It helped me to build that personal brand, that authority in that field that I play, definitely. And basically, it's just amplified all I've ever done. Definitely, it has amplified it.
Wonderful. Okay, so people have misconceptions about everything, and definitely the internet is not left out. So, Mr. Muyiwa, what do you think are some of the misconceptions people have about the internet?
The biggest misconception is that if it's on the internet, it's good. That's the biggest misconception. So there's this current craze around internet and technology all over the world, and specifically in Nigeria too. And there's this tendency to just trust that because it's on the internet, it's advanced and it's good. But the fact is that there's a lot of fake news on the internet. There's a lot of false information on the internet. There's a lot of bad information on the internet. And just because something is on the internet does not mean that it is an authority or is the best alternative to anything. So that's one major misconception that people have. The second misconception that people have is that that the internet is the be-all and end-all of especially in business. People feel, if I put this thing on the internet, if I put it on social media, it's going to blow. But the fact is, it's getting increasingly harder and harder. Just back to how the internet or social media helped me. In the earlier days when I used to write my articles or do all these things, it was easier for people to see it. Like you share it, maybe Twitter was one of the places I used a lot, because for journalists, that's where Twitter is. Twitter is always like where things happen and people discuss all those kind of things. So it was easier for people to see it. But nowadays, it's getting increasingly harder. Like we're constantly cracking our head. Okay, how do we expand our audience? Because we feel like, oh, it's the same circle of people you are still. Yes. So how do you now go beyond that? So for businesses or for anything, any endeavor, people still forget that there's still a place for offline. There's still a place for person-to-person conversations. There's still a place for offline marketing. There's still a place for all of that. People just think, oh, just put it on the internet and it's magic. Good. You still have to put some work into it, and it's changing. Things are changing a lot. So that's another major misconception. And probably the third one is, I don't know if I can call it a misconception, but for want of a better word, but the fact that the internet is ruling our lives nowadays. Like we're essentially addicted to the internet. We don't know. It's actually an addiction, because people look to social media, for example, for validation.
True.
So a lot of things that people post or share is because they are looking for likes. That's a problem. I've legit seen people. Someone actually I've quit social media 2 times actually. Wow. Right now I'm not on social media.
On any?
Yeah, I'm not. Wow. Like my profiles are there, right? But I'm not active. That's the second time. I may go back eventually. I'm just trying to take a break. The first time I quit Facebook was in 2013. I actually deleted my account. I saw someone who was terminally ill, right? And he took a picture on Facebook and shared it and said, oh, God save me, or something like this. This is someone that is very terminally ill. Okay, maybe because there are no people around him and he feels like he needs. And then comments were pouring, oh, God save you, blah, blah, blah. And I thought to myself, I said, out of all these comments, how many of them are going to go and visit that guy?
I feel like.
And why is the guy sharing something like that? Or why would someone go to a funeral of their father and be taking a selfie with the coffin at the back because they want likes? So I'm like, okay, this is a problem. I don't want to become dependent on this, so I just distance myself. Of course, like I said before, the internet will always amplify. So if you feel like there's not enough real life connections in your life, if you don't have good relationships around you, you always look to the internet for that validation. So, but that's the wrong conception. The internet is not a source of validation. You still need real life interactions. The internet should just to help to amplify that real life connection you have, to make it better. So for example, if you are like a married person and maybe your husband or wife is far away, the internet helps you guys to communicate. But don't look to the internet to get that validation from a stranger or necessarily.
All right. So speaking of the bad side of the internet, which you mentioned in your when you were giving us some of the misconceptions, where people post anything and then people tend to see the internet as good in all. There is this issue of internet policing. I can't really name the facts, mention the facts, but in America it's a problem where they want to reduce, or they want to cut down on some things on the internet. And even here in our country, we've had various issues, various quarrels with our National Assembly and co about them trying to stop freedom of speech on the internet. Mr. Darlington, what do you think about internet policing, especially in social media, where people are actually very vocal and speak on issues, do skits on issues and all of that? What do you think about internet policing?
Whether it should be stopped or whether should
if you're in support, or if it's something that shouldn't even happen.
Well, in Nigeria, it depends on how you look at it, because in terms of identity, for example, now online, first of all, people actually meet people. That's the good side of it. And the negative side, there are cyber bullies everywhere on Instagram, on Facebook, people who they'll see in person, but they cannot say anything to you. They can't. But they are trolls. They're always on your page. You post a good picture, especially most ladies. They'll be like, see your big belly, see your this. But if you see them in person, they'll be like, oh my God, you look so good. Hi. You get that kind of thing. But online, and most people actually, it affects them psychologically. Trust me, people might just think it's just a comment, but there are some people that actually read certain meanings to certain comments, and they will now start thinking about, for example, all this body shaming. Most girls actually, most ladies actually, how will I put it? They don't take those kind of things for granted. For example, you body shame somebody, she starts to think about it. Oh, am I fat? Am I this? Is my body this? You get that kind of thing. Then in terms of things happening in the country, on Instagram, for example, there are some situations which some comedians have done skits about, that people actually will see the skit and communicate and interact with the skit and be like, okay, this was happening in the country and this was happening in the country. Do you understand? So I don't think it's in that aspect. I don't think it should even be an issue to bring it up, like internet policing in that aspect. But in terms of the cyberbullying, trust me, I wish there was a way to limit that. That would be actually good, because the cyberbullies they just spring up. You cut one head, two heads come up, Hydra things, like so it depends on how you look at it. But generally, I think they should even think about it in Nigeria.
I'm right on that. So you mentioned the National Assembly trying at a point to regulate social media, and there was an outcry and stuff. But for example, in Tanzania now, bloggers have to get a license.
Wow.
They have to pay as much as $900 per year.
Wow. To be allowed to blog.
This is just like a month ago that this thing came to effect. Blogs are already dying in Tanzania now. In Uganda, people have to pay to access the social media now. To access WhatsApp, Facebook, they pay, and Twitter, they pay like 20 naira, equivalent of 20 naira a day.
Wow.
So governments all over Africa are trying their best.
The internet.
It's a very tricky issue, yes. Like he has made some points about cyberbullying and all of that. And even governments too, they worry about how
people perceive their government.
Their government based on the comments that people make. So it's understandable that they will want to police, But I think the major issue is that the fundamental way we have used the web, the internet over the years is faulty, and we need to revisit it. So, for example, this idea of I access social media for free in exchange for my privacy, so that companies can advertise to me, it creates a problem where those companies try to get you more engaged, because the more engaged you are, the easier it is for them to sell you to advertisers, right? But just assume we paid for Facebook, for example. We paid to access Facebook. Like Facebook was charging us, and they now know that, okay, the idea is for them to now find a way to help us really connect with people around us. They will not be driven to force us to look for viral videos and all of that. So I'm trying to, I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say, but
I get you.
The fundamental, I can't go really deep into it, but the fundamental structure of the internet or the World Wide Web is faulty. It needs to be reviewed. Same thing with cyberbullying. The anonymity, that anonymity is a problem. If people knew that you would know them when they come on the internet,
exactly.
But at the same time, there has to be a balance, because for the people who are not cyberbullies too, who want to protect their privacy. So, for example, maybe you are in a Muslim nation and you're a Christian. You don't want people to know you're a Christian. You also need your security. So there are so many issues around it. Yeah. We need to revisit the structure of the World Wide Web and the internet and really revamp it. That's it.
Wonderful. It's been a lovely show, but there are a lot of things to talk about. That is why we have our social media platforms for you to drop your questions. If you have any questions based on this topic, you can visit us at CFFONTV on our various social media platforms. And to catch past episodes of the show, we're on YouTube as Dominican Media Presents. Thank you, Mr. Muyiwa Matuluko, for coming, and Mr. Darlington Amadi, aka The Cypher. It's been a pleasure having you both, and we've learned a lot. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation.
A pleasure.
Thanks for
having us.
So until we come your way next time, keep being saints in jeans and shirts.